Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson-Milton.
Welcome to another episode of Intentionality, the show dedicated to improving the success rate of entrepreneurs and their businesses by sharing the strategies and tactics of successful suppliers. I am your host, Dominique Simpson-Milton. Today's show is being brought to you by Capital One and CVMSDC, also known as the Council. On today's show, we are going to explore how to build a positive work culture and how that culture impacts client satisfaction. Shuganti Cardonna, President of Summit Information Solutions Incorporated, is joining me in sharing valuable insights on this topic. Summit Information Solutions is a 21-year-old company that has been recognized 7 times as one of the best places to work in Virginia. Shuganti, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dominique. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And so congratulations on 21 years of success.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So I've read that you have a foundation built on excellence, integrity, teamwork, and community.
Yes, ma'am.
What drove you to start this business?
So about 21 years ago, I wanted to find a work-life balance. And I've always struggled with this, partly because as a female, and you know this probably as well, I started off as an engineer. And with that, it's always you walk into a room and you look around and see how many other female are in the room.
You're the only one in there usually.
For the most part.
Right.
And so I worked in that type of cultural environment and doing your best in whatever I did. But I got to a point where my husband and I were both working for a commercial Fortune 100 company at the time, around 2002. And you know, I felt like our children were just kind of in the mix there, you know, and I'm going, this is not working.
Right.
And so, you know, I thought one of us needs to get off this rat's wheel. And so that's what I did. I said, you know what, I'll look for a way to do maybe possibly consulting on the side so I can pick my hours, pick the projects I want to focus.
Have control over your life.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And at the same time, you know, if I need to be home to help out with the kids, I can do that, pick them up from after school if needed. But at the same time, if I need to arrange to be at the client site, I can do that as well. So that was the impetus for me to look into starting my own consulting firm.
No, I understand totally, because they say that work-life balance really doesn't exist, but it's a juggling act, right?
Absolutely.
And when you can control your destiny by having your own business and working from home, that helps with the balance.
Absolutely.
Yes. So explain to our audience what you actually do.
Absolutely. So we are a technology and management services company. And with my background, as I said, in engineering, we also got into IT. And so we have the experience of both government and commercial. And what we do is bring the best of both worlds to bear. And with that, look at what's the best practices as we look at how do we solve client problems or client needs. So many times we're going in there doing technology assessments. And based on those type of needs, it could be they're looking to do business transformations, like modernization of their legacy systems. Where do they want to go to the cloud, perhaps? So those are that's an example of what we provide. And we have deep software development backgrounds. Many of us are SMEs, including myself.
Okay.
So kind of a bottoms-up approach. Coming in, we're able to assist with companies that are looking for how to deliver every time. So bringing in our best practices in terms of management services for portfolio, program, project management. And that way, you know, you're ensuring success every time, or, you know, at least going towards that goal. And those are some of the things that Summit provides.
Excellent. So I just want to break it down for our viewers, because
Sure.
I read your website, which is extremely impressive, right? It says just examples. You do 3D imaging. You did some 3D imaging for a client,
Yes.
So that they can use those 3D images to train the workforce. I saw where you're doing cybersecurity and then information solutions. And
Absolutely.
so really a solutions provider, right?
Absolutely, because we have different clients from different sectors. For example, we're heavy on working with the financial banks and so forth, and also regulatory. and they have their own specific needs we might come in on, whether it's modernization or project management needs and so forth. And then we had worked with the defense industry and formerly Fort Lee.
Right.
And so they had a need for training their soldiers. And so part of what we did for about 7+ years is had a prime contract where we created 3D training materials that was used for teaching them about sustainment for our soldiers out in the field. And that was a very successful engagement. And those are some of the innovative things that we were involved with.
Excellent. Well, you get rave reviews from your clients. I saw some of your reviews. So one person said, best consultant we ever work with, said that you make things simple, the most complex things simple. So those are the types of reviews that you want to get from your clients. So let's talk about how you get those reviews. Let's talk about the culture that you've built. You've been awarded 7 times in a row the best place to work.
Sure.
But that takes work. How do you get a culture like that? How did you build that culture?
Absolutely. So we focus on 3 different areas. One is looking at what the client needs are. And with that, we want to make sure we are bringing success to every engagement. And of course, we couldn't do that without having our talented workforce to support that. So in order to do that, we want to make sure that our employees, associates are well taken care of, ensuring that our benefits are competitive, that we have a team collaborative type of spirit, and we're not bringing them in to fail. And so we want to make sure they're successful, making sure they have the proper skill sets. Do they have areas that they want to develop, personal development? We want to provide the training and have the means to be able for them to do that. And then the other area that we emphasize is giving back to the community. So it's not just, about me.
That's right.
It's about making a difference. And so making everyone feel like they're part of something bigger than just, I'm going to a job, I'm going to work. And hopefully it's fun for everyone. And also, we don't have the multi-layers of management, partly because we are small as well.
That's key.
And we are able to have that direct line of communication. I mean, if someone wants to call me or, do so. Here's my contact information. So the employees, associates have that ability to be able to communicate and have an open communication.
So you have a well-rounded work environment.
Yes.
You have an open door policy?
Yes.
Do y'all call each other by the first name?
We do. I mean, we kid around, but a lot. But
I asked that question because I worked in a company where, you called your boss by his first name, but then his boss's boss by his last name. It's so formal, right? And everything was so formal, especially back in the day, when we were only women in the organization, right? Might be the only minority in the organization, and everything is just stiff and it doesn't feel comfortable. And I'm not getting that sense from you.
Dominique, that is as far away from what I want to be. I know there are certain environments you go to, in the defense industry, certain military things, I understand formality and we have to have that at certain levels and I respect that. But when we're working together, definitely, it's a very first name basis and trying to make it a fun environment. We recognize individual birthdays. We recognize work anniversaries. And, we celebrate our milestones. And we get excited about any little thing that comes along.
I love that. And it's important. We were talking today at lunch about the difference between different fast food chains, right? There's one fast food chain, the line might be around the corner, but you're going to get through it in 5 minutes. Yeah. And the food is always going to be correct. Your order is always correct. And it's because they have a culture within that fast food chain that emanates through the employees and to the customers, right? It translates to the customers. And so I'm sensing the same thing with you, right?
Yes.
You have this wonderful work culture, voted 7 years in a row with this perfect work culture. Yeah. And then your clients are saying, oh, wow, they're outstanding. Yeah. Talk about how that translates. Because, you're not having to be behind the person, when they go on a particular job because they already have this as part of their culture. Talk about that because our viewers need to understand, owners need to understand that, it's about providing excellent service, about having a good product or service, but it's also about the culture and how that translates to the customer.
And I think it's a lot about building teamwork. And not only within the group that we're, each one is assigned to specific parts of the statement of work or the contract. Also, making sure they understand how it all comes together. And then as far as, working with the client, making sure they understand what the client needs are. So it's not just, hey, I'm checking off the boxes here. Right. Understand the value that you're bringing to your customer. And when you understand the value, I get excited.
Right.
What? We did that? We made that much of an impact? And there are organizations, we think, it's hard for small businesses to get their foot in the door. And we have in those places. And when we say we were part of this, we moved the needle on this, and that translates to everyone, that contributed to that. So it's a really collaborative spirit between working with the client and, the associates that we put on the particular contract. So making sure that we're fully aligned, and it's not just at the end saying, hey, we didn't deliver on this.
Right.
Hopefully we're collaborating throughout the process so that we can make it successful for them.
So alignment, collaboration, understanding what you're working on and the value that it's going to bring. One client said you saved them 50% on a particular project.
I believe it. I mean, over the years, we have done several things that have brought value across the board. And if that's what we brought, for saving wise, I think I'm not surprised you're bringing that number up. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. But we've had several that have said we changed environments sometimes.
Yes.
When we come in there, it's not like we're just getting through.
I love that. So let's talk about innovation. Right? We talked about the culture, talked about the impact on the customers with that great culture, but let's talk about an area that doesn't always get touched upon. A lot of times entrepreneurs will have a great product, a great service, and they enter the supply chain at a very mature stage. And what I want entrepreneurs to understand is that they need to enter the supply chain at the innovation and R&D stage. Sure. When you enter there, you kind of build yourself a niche, right? And you become indispensable to the company. Right? Sure. So you're an innovation, R&D, solutions type company. Talk about how you build yourself into the needs of the company so that they're always looking at Summit for that solution.
Thank you for asking that. One of the things that I get bored easily. Services is great, and it keeps the lights on. But it's like, how can we make a difference here? Right. What can we do that's going to make a difference? And we really have a couple of different ways that we move, in that we have the technology services side. Okay. Another area is the engineering services, and really focused in Huntsville, Alabama. But instead of doing the engineering services as I have done in the past when I was in the defense industry, we started looking at what else is out there, as far as innovation is concerned. And about 8 years ago, I partnered with a good friend of ours who was teaching at Old Dominion University. And with that, he showed me some of the wonderful things that they've been working on. And I said, well, it's just sitting there on the shelf. Right. How do you bring it off the shelf? I could see uses for this in the defense industry. I can see it for NASA. This is something that needs to get out there from an application perspective. And that's what we did. We started writing research papers together. And I want to say the second one that we put out there, we won, it's like a grant, but it's a Small Business Innovation Research Award that is federally funded. And we were so excited. You would have thought I won the lottery.
Well, you did. Because people, you opened up a whole can of worms here of opportunity, because there are research ideas sitting on the shelves of every university out there, right? Yes. We actually have our office housed on UNC's campus in North Carolina, and it's an innovation lab. But there are ideas just sitting on the shelves that students have come up with, professors have come up with, and nobody's taking them and commercializing them. Yes. So now you're talking about an idea that you took and wrote a paper on and then won an award for, right?
Won an award, and the work has been continuing. And as a result, we invested in a one-off lab down in Huntsville, and we continue to do the work for for NASA, and we've done it for the Air Force and the defense industry. So that's the engineering side of it. Of course, on the technology, IT side of it, there's so much up and coming. You hear the biggest buzzword, AI, artificial intelligence. We're like, you know what? We're into data analytics. We've been doing machine learning. I mean, when we started off coding and things like that, how do we, get back into those kind of early
That's what opportunities are.
Absolutely.
Now, did you license that technology?
We're still working on, creating it's different for different applications. For some of the things that we've looked at are for things that could go into satellites.
Okay.
For example, in the optics. So we're still working on the research part of it. But I think that eventually, and, we're hoping to get some things commercialized.
That is outstanding. So for our viewers, key takeaway, innovation exists on all college campuses, and you can go and license the technology and start a business in an area that you might not even have known about.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you so much. So I want parting advice. What parting advice would you give to an MBE that's starting out?
I would say keep with it. I mean, I think resiliency is a big thing. Change is always out there. Being able to be flexible, adaptable, and don't give up. You're going to hit all kinds of bumps along the way. I can tell you that. And sometimes you can laugh about it and think about it and cry about it. I think I've gone through a full gamut of emotions through the whole process, but it's all worth it. And just sticking through it. I know some people say, if you get through the first 5 years.
First 5 years it is, yeah.
Right? I take it every day, one day at a time. No 2 days have been ever the same for me.
Excellent.
And it keeps me on my toes. And I love that for me.
Excellent. Anything you would have done different than what you did?
There are some things looking back on. We had gone into the 8A program. It took us a while to get into that program.
That's a long process to get in.
Absolutely. And it was a ton of paperwork. And but after we got it, I realized we weren't quite ready for it in the sense that it kind of sat on the shelf for a couple of years. And then once we started going with it, and it was right at the very end, we had such a heavy momentum, was the time we had to graduate from the program. So if I could have shifted that to more towards the front of it, I think I would have really gained even more of a value. But it was a really great business development program.
No, I love that you said that, because when I was in MBE, we went through the 8A program. And I tell people, don't do it too soon. Wait until you're absolutely ready to take on those huge government contracts so that you don't waste those 2 years you just mentioned.
Right.
So great advice there, great advice. Well, it has been such a pleasure talking to you today. Just to make sure for our viewers to understand, your service level, is that nationwide? Can you service clients anywhere, or what's your region of influence?
We can do nationwide in the sense that because you can do the work remotely.
Sure.
For many clients. We do have a presence in Virginia and Midwest and in Huntsville, Alabama, as I mentioned earlier. But again, IT cuts horizontally across many sectors. And it's, post-pandemic, it's made everyone rethink about, how workplace looks like, what it looks like. So yeah, you can say nationwide.
Nationwide. Well, thank you for being with us today. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Dominique, for your time.
Yes, absolutely. So if you are interested in more information, please visit summitis.com. Well, that concludes today's episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode, and remember that we must always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connections so we can grow and thrive in business together. I am Dominique Simpson-Milton, and I will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.